Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today we're diving deep into the fascinating world of fantasy literature and media. Have you ever wondered why so many fantasy worlds seem to draw inspiration from medieval times, especially European medieval times? Well, grab your swords and shields because we're about to embark on an epic journey to uncover the reasons behind this enduring trend. From J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth to George R.R. Martin's Westeros, fantasy worlds set in medieval-esque times have captivated readers and viewers for decades. But what is it about the medieval period that makes it such a popular backdrop for these stories? Let's start by exploring the first and perhaps most obvious reason: the influence of J.R.R. Tolkien. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings trilogy, published in the mid-20th century, set the standard for modern fantasy literature. Tolkien, a professor of medieval literature, was heavily inspired by European medieval history, mythology, and languages. His work incorporated elements like feudal societies, ancient languages, and epic quests, all hallmarks of the medieval era. Tolkien's success paved the way for countless other authors to follow in his footsteps, creating their own worlds with similar medieval themes. This created a kind of template for the fantasy genre, one that's been hard to break away from. Another reason medieval Europe serves as such a rich source of inspiration is its historical and cultural complexity. The medieval period, spanning roughly from the 5th to the late 15th century, was a time of significant social, political, and technological change. This era saw the rise and fall of empires, the spread of Christianity, the Crusades, and the development of chivalry and feudalism. These elements provide a rich tapestry for storytelling. Think about it: knights in shining armor, imposing castles, and vast, unexplored wildernesses. These images evoke a sense of adventure and mystery that is perfect for fantasy storytelling. The medieval period also offers a clear dichotomy between good and evil, order and chaos, which can be very appealing in narrative construction. Let's not forget mythology and folklore. European medieval times were steeped in myths and legends, from King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table to the Norse sagas of gods and heroes. These stories have been passed down through generations, and their themes of heroism, magic, and the supernatural naturally lend themselves to the fantasy genre. Dragons, elves, dwarves, and wizards, many of the iconic creatures and characters in fantasy literature, have roots in medieval mythology. These fantastical elements capture our imaginations and transport us to worlds where the impossible becomes possible. But it's not just the historical and mythological aspects that make medieval Europe so compelling. There's also a certain romanticism associated with this period. The idea of a simpler time where honor and bravery were paramount resonates with many people, especially in our modern, often complicated world. The medieval setting allows for a nostalgic escape, a return to a time when life, despite its hardships, seemed more straightforward. This romanticized view of the past is perpetuated through various forms of media. Video games like the Witcher series, TV shows like Game of Thrones, and movies like Excalibur all draw from medieval themes and settings, continually reinforcing their popularity. It's also worth mentioning that medieval Europe provides a framework that is both familiar and flexible. Authors and creators can build upon this foundation, adding their own unique twists while still maintaining a sense of authenticity. The hierarchical structures, the clash of cultures, and the struggles for power are all elements that can be adapted and reimagined to fit the needs of any story. Of course, it's important to recognize that fantasy doesn't have to be limited to medieval Europe. There are incredible works of fantasy inspired by other cultures and historical periods. For example, N.K. Jemison's The Broken Earth trilogy draws from African and indigenous cultures, while R.F. Kuang's The Poppy War is influenced by Chinese history and mythology. These stories are a testament to the richness and diversity that can be found outside the European medieval mold. In conclusion, the prevalence of medieval European settings in fantasy can be attributed to a combination of historical influence, cultural complexity, mythology, romanticism, and familiarity. While it's fascinating to explore these worlds, it's equally exciting to see the genre expanding to include a broader range of inspirations. Whether you're a fan of dragons and castles, or you prefer stories set in other times and places, there's a fantasy world out there for everyone. Thanks for joining me on this journey through the medieval roots of fantasy worlds. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments what your favorite fantasy world is and why.